Good morning, Team 5 kiddos. Today we're going to be starting a new chapter, Chapter 8, Geometric Relationships. Today on Lesson 8-1, we're going to be working on building blocks of geometry. For starters, if you take a look at our board here, we have multiple points. And you can notice that all of my points are capital letters. And when you're referring to points, we want to use capital letters, okay? And points can be connected. So if we take a look here, we're just going to connect R and S with a line. And we know it's a line because as we write our line, we're going to put these arrows on the end of it. See that? Yeah. There's an arrow going in each direction. That means they go to infinity. They don't stop. They just keep going well beyond, okay? And we can actually give this line a name. We give that line the name line RS. Now, just like when we wrote squared meters, and then we had the meter squared, little shortcut with the exponent of 2, we can actually write line RS using a shortcut. So we can say line RS, but we're going to make this little line above it with the arrows. It's not pretty, but it's going to work. And that means line RS, long cut, shortcut, right? Now, I'm also going to make another line. I'm going to connect line TV. All right, I'm going to put my arrows on the end of it. They go off into infinity. And line V, let's make that a little more clear for people. There we go, there's our V. Okay. Beautiful little arrows. Now, this is going to be line TV, and we can write that over here as line TV. I'm going to use the shortcut because that's what it's there for, shortcut. All right, there we go. These are some ugly arrows. Anyways, I know some of you are like, hey, Mr. K, can we name that instead of TV, line TV? Can we name it line VT? Yes. Actually, it is the exact same thing. It's just another way to name it. Okay? Go back to this one. Here we did line RS. Could we rename it line SR? Absolutely. There we go. Because it is a line. Now we have other things called line segments and rays and so on and so forth where you can't work that flexibly, but on lines we can. We can go backward and forward like that on lines, okay? So the next thing I want to show you, first of all, before I do that, I wanted to point out that to name a line, you need 2 points to name a line, okay? And in order to name a plane, which is, it's kind of hard because you have to be able to visualize what a plane is. It's like a flat surface. It doesn't have any thickness. But a plane says, guess what? I have 3 random points or more that share the same plane. So for instance, if you take a look at U out here, U isn't connected by any line. But if you name any 3 points on this shape and you use U in it, you will be in the same plane. So how we do that is we say, hey, plane. We write the word plane, and it's going to be plane T-U-R. T-U and R, right? Another plane using U could be S-V-U. S-V-U, right? Can you name another plane, do you think, using 3 points? Yeah, you could do T-U-R, all right? That is also a plane. So a plane is 3 points. A line is 2 points, okay? All right, the next part that I want to talk to you about is line segments. And a line segment, I'm going to add a point right here, and I'm going to say that's line point. Let's call it point N. Point N. Okay? And a line segment says, hey, guess what? I only want to talk about this little space between these 2 points and nothing else. Nothing else. So I can call it line segment. I can write it out. This is when the shortcut comes in handy. It's line segment NS, right? Or I could say line segment NS with the shortcut method. And you see that when we're talking about line segments, there aren't any arrows on the end of it. It just says, hey, here's where I start at N and it ends at S. Starts at N, ends at S. Mr. K, could we go SN? Yep, absolutely. You could go S, line segment SN, and then just put your little line above it. You're good to go. All right. We don't want to talk about the rest of the line. We don't want to. All right. We just want to talk about this little space in between. Okay. All right. So we have line segments. And line segments are 2 points also. So planes are the only one that right now that has at least 3 points on it. Okay. Line, the minimum, you need to have 2 points. All right. Line segments, you have to have 2 points. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is array. And a ray is a part of a line that starts at an endpoint and extends forever in another direction. So if we were to come up with a ray, I could say, hey, let's talk about ray TV. TV. And it's going to extend way, 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 way into infinity. Okay, so we can say, hey, we can write out the word ray, long cut, right? Ray TV. How this works, though, is we put our little dot there and we draw the ray in the direction it's going, okay? We're starting at T, which is my endpoint starting, and we're moving to V. So we're moving in this direction, right? So that's why we start at T, and we're going to V. But this ray actually continues into infinity, just like the line does. Okay. Another ray, oh, actually, I did the long cut and the shortcut together. You could say it's TV is the shortcut. This is the shortcut. Okay. All right. This hard surface I'm writing on is not very forgiving for a left-hander that has poor printing skills. Anyways, another ray we could say is, let's see, go NR. So we could do ray NR. So it's going to be NR. Okay. Hey, Mr. K, could we go RN? It's not the same as NR. Remember, we're starting at N and we're moving through R. Starting at N, moving through R into infinity. If we were to start at R and move through N, we're actually going the totally different direction. That's kind of like trying to go to say that how do you get home from school is the same way that you got there, and it's not the same. Okay, it's different. That would be, hey, I'm going from home to school, and that's one route, ray RN, and then to go home, I need to use ray N to R. Otherwise, they're not the same. Okay. All right. What I'd like to do is just kind of give you a little bit of a extra here. I've drawn up a map, and I normally like to do this because it helps kids. I put on the board. If you take a look, we have Interstate 94 here, running east and west, and then we have Highway 95, which is running north and south. Okay, and along the way, I have labeled Woodbury, Hudson, Baldwin, and then we have Afton down here. Then we have actually Lakeland Shores right about in here. That's where the school is. Yay! School. All right. And then up here we have Stillwater. So another way to look at this and trying to help you with your lines is to talk about different line segments and how it works. Okay. So if we were to talk about line segment WH, all right, WH says we're starting in Woodbury and we're going to Hudson. But does Interstate 94 stop when it gets to Hudson? No, it actually keeps going on through all the way through Baldwin and keeps going through Roberts, all those wonderful little towns to the east of us. And the same thing can be said about Woodbury. Interstate 94 does not stop in Woodbury. It continues on until it hits the Twin Cities metro area. Okay? All right. So line segments are let's say you want to know the distance from Woodbury to Hudson. That is a line segment distance. Okay? That's what you're looking for. The same thing can be said for, hey, Highway 95, right? Here we have the school let's start at Afton. Here we have Afton, right? And we want to do our line segment AS, which is to Stillwater, Afton to Stillwater. All right, does Highway 95 stop when it gets to Stillwater? Nope, it actually continues on all the way up to Taylor's Falls. And then does Highway 95 stop at Afton? No, it actually goes all the way down to Prescott. Okay, so that's kind of one way to look at it, is thinking of maps, right? And when we want to talk about line segments, it's a distance, or we're talking about a specific distance from one to another, one point to another point. Okay, all right. So a couple things I want to talk to you about just in review. When we want to, Mr. K. First of all, we have points. They have capital letters. Okay, that represents a point. We can write line AB to talk about a line, or we can use the shortcut, which is line AB, and it has the two arrows. In order to talk about a line, it needs to have 2 points. To talk about a line segment, like we were just talking about on Interstate 94 between Woodbury and Hudson, we're calling that a line segment. And we can call it line segment BD, or we can use the shortcut, which is BD, and it has no arrows. And sometimes students like to put the little endpoints on the end, and that tells them, hey, that reminds them, hey, that's a line segment. Okay. Then we can talk about rays. We can say either ray EF or the shortcut. We start at our endpoint and head in one direction to infinity, which is ray EF. Okay. And then lastly, we can talk about planes. All right, planes need 3 points. So it'd be plane ABC. All right, so A, B, and C. They don't even need to be connected by lines. They can just be out there. All right, and we can say, hey, they're all on the same plane. Okay, so that is today's lesson. Hopefully it makes sense to you. Don't forget, you can also go online and watch Mr. Berger teach the lesson as well. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you and your work online soon.